Hello, the channel. Welcome to the channel, Quinny 3001. How you doing, mate?
Very good, mate. Thanks for having us on. Special occasion and all that.
I know, special occasion. I can't believe it. 250 YouTube videos. I can't honestly. I was kind of thinking about this earlier, and it just wasn't really registered in my head like 250 videos. Like it just seems to have flown in. And I think what I said to you yesterday as well, you're like 250 videos. Like, how the hell
It's
is
a
that?
lot.
It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. So yeah, I wanted to get you on because I thought I can't just do like a normal YouTube video for 250. We need to sort of market a wee bit and but it'd be a good idea to just sort of look back and go back a couple of years or whatever and just have a chat about what used to happen, what we're happening now. We're not talking about essence and we're not talking about boxes or sentiment or any of that shit. Just it's Friday night, positivity. We'll have a look ahead to the weekend and everything. So I said you got a good tier two midweek as well.
I did, yeah. I finished 10th in All-Star, which was just like the good old days again.
Aye,
And
the
pulled
midweek.
a Marvin as well, which is a great prize in any version of Sorare. 10th in All-Star midweek.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? So one at
Yeah,
six.
pretty happy.
So I've not really looked at his scores recently, but I'm presuming you probably already have looked. But he's still doing all right, isn't he? Maybe just not doing as many hundreds as he was in the past, but they're a really handy card to have in season.
Yeah, he's maybe just got a few more of those oranges potentially. I don't know, like his form looks pretty good to me, but he does have some low ones, but
Yeah.
like L15 65, L5 67. Few hundreds in there as well in the L10.
That's pretty good. I suppose probably less in focus as well because of the whole split of the regions as well, eh? Because if he was doing like a 65, then people would say, "Oh, don't buy Kimmich, buy a one Isaac," and it's maybe
Aye,
just not as sort of hyped or in focus or whatever. But that's pretty good, and that'll suit you as well because obviously same um, division as contender and Celtic as well, eh? So be pretty
big
handy.
time. Great O'Reilly replacement.
Yeah, definitely. And you know how to pay for it as well, so that's always good, isn't it? So that is
Totally.
always good. Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, well, I only had boxes to open tonight, and I thought I'm not going to open the boxes on the video because I don't want to get the train of thought into Essence and what's happened midweek and everything. So we're not going to cover that. So we'll just have a chat and look back and stuff. But I mean, I can't believe it. I think like is that's what over 4 years we've both been on Sorare, is that right? Was it 2020 we started, right about sort of June, July 2020? So basically gone into like the fifth year overall, which is bonkers really, isn't it? Like crazy.
It is. Aye. Season 5 is the way I kind of look at it, because on the back end of summer, obviously, is then when you begin into a new season. So, yeah, it's like the 2021 season was like the first time, or
Aye,
the 2020 season for MLS, I suppose you would think of it. But, season 5 is the way I'm thinking of it, in
yeah,
that way. So,
that's
4 years,
crazy.
five football seasons. Depends how you run your calendar.
That's mad, isn't it? Yeah, so a couple of things I want to do at some point. Later on in the video, we'll do the Alex Valley giveaway for the Predictify stuff if I can work Twitter picker. So I'm on the beer, so yes, there's a chance I might be on a separate video. But I want to have a look at sorry our data at some point as well. And then I was just thinking back earlier, like basically like you can try like share like kind of story of how you actually like started up on the platform. Like what got you into Sorare?
Uh, I don't even know what to say to that anymore at this point, to be honest with you. What did get me into it? I don't know. I think, well, it's a. Let me think, sorry.
I caught you in the spot, the hot there. See, you can see now if you're
Aye, it's
this
just
is
such
not
an
what
old. Sorry, it's been a while since kind of had to throw back on that stuff. And yeah, so sorry, mate. You'll need to edit that a wee bit
No, I'm
because I
not
thought,
editing anything. I'll do mine then, and you can have a think about yours then. Yeah, come on, you must know me by now. I don't do any editing at all. This
oh,
looks
you'll need to,
absolutely as per.
mate. I just totally tied there. You'll need to.
I'm leaving it in. I will. I remember like I was playing on like Football Index and stuff, so I remember like basically
Yeah.
I was just like usual buggering about
It's like
on
where,
Facebook and
it's like
stuff.
where to start with all that. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. It's like, what do I even say? I can't,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, well, I
that's
was
like an hour
like,
going through all that. But
yeah. Well, I
what was
was,
the main attraction? The main attraction was like it was totally kind of built already with the same sort of parts of a game that you would like to imagine you could really get your hands on, like a fantasy football kind of game, and a lot of the other stuff that there's a lot of consistent elements through this, which is longer term. It's not just like what happens in
yeah,
90 minutes or, getting the score right or anything like that. It's much more like fun and more like the team you think is going to get better, the player you think might have a career to follow and going for that kind of thing. And like a lot of the problems that, just from being interested in that sort of game, you come across a lot of them, if they exist. And yeah, like sorry, I just seem to have a lot of stuff set in the foundations that were like the critical errors for other people. So I guess
yeah.
the number one thing that attracted me in that sense to it was it just seemed like all the what's the word?
It wasn't Celtic at that point because Celtic weren't actually on the platform at that stage, wasn't it? Like so, but it was like the kind of owning your club type thing, wasn't it? Like it was actually like managing your club and sort of owning your players and
On your game.
own your game, on your game. Now you obviously the one of my early memories of you was you were always like doing content quite early as well. So what sort of got you into that? Was that just because obviously you loved the game and you just thought I'm just going to make some content for it, or were you already doing some other content before you actually come on to Sorare? Or
Well, the main thing for all of it, I suppose, whether it was Sorare or any of the stuff I kind of messed with before, finding Sorare was essentially that I just felt I had more ideas than my wallet could carry, if you know what I mean. So, in terms of different strategies that were available, players that were maybe undervalued in the market or whatever, and if funds were infinite, oh, you could easily just do this or buy that or sell this and do that. And yeah, it just felt like, well, I always like receipts for these things. Like if I've got a hunch on something, and it's a big theme, I suppose, of my content in general, but I like to predict things. I like to think I can see how that's going to pan out, or I like to think I can see, and yeah, I like predicting things, I suppose. It's just a
yeah,
thing. And when you've got a natural compulsion to do that, you like receipts because you like to be able to go, see, like I did, like I said that, was happening, it did.
yeah,
So I guess that's kind of like the core of it for me. It's not really so much like a social media thing or an attention thing or anything like that. It's much more of a yeah, love for football, and then it's like that kind of part of it where when it's a fantasy football, obviously predicting stuff is very tangible. Like where do you finish? Do you buy cards for low, sell them on? Do you finish high in the leaderboard, etc. Um, so it was more like that, and then when you do that kind of thing, like it then just becomes about like helping people essentially, because yeah, like that's just kind of part of the gig, I suppose. Like people ask you questions, you give them the answers, and then it's like, well, people really want to hear the answers to these questions. So, what other questions would they like to hear the answers for? And it's then just
yeah,
trying to think of stuff that could really help people, because then, they'll like the video, and that's just kind of the circle you get into with it in that sense. Yeah. So it's got to be, yeah. Oh, that's my answer.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I remember when I started out, like. I thought like this guy's better at so rare than me, and like, obviously we were doing content and things. There weren't as many content creators out about at that point. There was people maybe transitioning from some of the other platforms we were on, or starting to take notice of it as it started getting bigger and things. And like an interesting fact is that like obviously when I was younger, I played a bit of sort of poker and stuff, so I always been involved in games. But before I signed up for like so rare. Like I had no fantasy football background at all. So I played some of the other sites for like FI and Footstock and stuff like that, and I enjoyed that because it wasn't just like your normal betting, putting on your tenfold or your treble or doing your horse bet or whatever, and it was over straight away. And like you, I was kind of starting to enjoy the longer form of it because I always was younger. I always used to love Football Manager as well. She's the like Wonder Kids and yes,
Same.
right, got to win the Champions League with Celtic and that's always a challenge. But like that was always the idea, it was like like sort of following what players were doing and all that hype you get when like a Wayne Rooney came through at 17 or a Ryan Cherky came through and everybody was saying, is this guy going to be the next like huge thing? So I always loved all that type of stuff. And then I just kind of fell into the platform, like being involved in that stuff. I remember Fraser who signed me up, like he's messaged me one day and said, oh, I see like obviously you're on, I can't remember which one, it was probably Footstock or whatever, and he was like, was posting about it, and he was like, yeah, I've got this list of players and stuff like that. And then a couple of weeks later, he was just like, oh yeah, like, you would like this because this is so rare thing, and like, it's not just like your EPL or whatever, it's like, it's more global. So, that point they had like the Italian clubs and Shakhtar Donetsk and all this type of things. And I remember looking at it and going, that's for no fucking way I'm getting involved with Euros. What is this? Like, I'm not paying in euros. It's in France and everything. It's like, no, it's not based in the UK. And then he messaged me again, and I was like, and he was like, oh, if you buy like 5 cards, you get a card for free. And so one of the other guys paid like put in like 80 quid or whatever, and I get a card worth 40 quid. And I was like, all right, okay, I'll give it a go. Set a budget of like 100 euros or 100 quid, and that'll be me. I'm not spending it anymore. So I went on and I bought like I was like looking up Football Manager and was like, Shakhtar Donetsk buying like Marcos Antonio. I think he was the first card. Bought the platform and I bought like a Demar buy and stuff. And at that point the auctions were quite slow, right? So it was just like you were kind of looking at guys in auction and going, oh yeah, he's pretty good and all that sort of stuff. So I bought my 5 players, and the first rare referral reward I got was Paul Lopez. So
Oh yeah.
it's worth 60 quid. So I was like, so I've spent 100 quid and I've got a guy worth 60 quid. So I messaged Fraser and said, what do I do with this? Like, I've spent 100 quid, I could get 60 quid back. And he was like, no, don't do that. It's like, why is it? Well, you need a goalkeeper, and goalkeepers are really in demand because there's only one goalkeeper per team. So that's how much they sell for. They're 40 quid, they're 50 quid, they're 60 quid. If you want to play, then you're going to need a goalkeeper. And I kept him. So if you zoom forward a wee bit when the platform started to take off, um, Paul Lopez sold for £1,000. So my
Nice.
referral reward I eventually sold for £1,000. So that's kind of zooming forward. But like at that point, I was like, that was me. I was like, in the platform, if you know what I mean. I remember also being in like about a week or whatever, and he said, "Oh, they've signed up the K League," and I was like, "I don't even know what that is. Like, what are you talking about? Like, like what the fuck's that?" And he's like, "Oh, there's this guy on it. He's called Cezinha, and basically he's going to be great for the game." So I was like, "I'm just going to go in and watch the auction." So I was sitting just watching the auction. I was thinking this guy's going to sell for about 50 quid or something. I looked at it. It was 300 quid. I was like, "What the fuck's going on? Like, people are paying 300 quid for this." And I kept going, and then like somebody paid like 500 quid for his first card, and I was going, this is intriguing. Like, so if I could win one of these guys in this competition, if I play my 5-a-side team and I win, I could win this guy and he's worth 500 quid. And then that started to really kind of like start to go into my brain. Like, why don't I just like buy some guys at a 10 or 20 quid that are good young players and then try and sort of build it up? And then Fraser said, they've secured the funding for, you remember the like 4 million funding at the point where they went and got all the big licenses. So maybe you got like oh, broke my laptop. Broke my laptop.
Punching the
Promise
camera.
I promise I've only had like one beer, honestly.
You'll
Yeah.
remember this.
You'll remember this. I was making a good point there, wasn't I? Yeah. So anyway, now that I broke my laptop, I need a new laptop. What was I talking about? Yeah, Barcelona and what was the license? Real Madrid, Barcelona,
PSG,
Ajax.
Bayern,
Wasn't Barcelona, it was Real Madrid, Liverpool,
Bayern.
um, Ajax. Were Ajax there?
No, Eredivisie was like a January or February thing.
That's right, yeah. So Eredivisie was after that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
but
So,
it was definitely like February kind of time. I remember like when the auctions came out, it's like, oh, right after
yeah.
Christmas, man.
It was big
Sangare
license.
was coming on the platform, and like, there was so many other hype boys as well. Of course, Veerman was like, I wonder. Veerman's always been expensive. Like Veerman was mad hyped when the Eredivisie came on.
Yeah,
Um, Eredivisie was a massive gateway league. It was kind of maybe a wee bit underrated because Eredivisie is just like a hotbed of talent, really of all shapes and sizes that go over the world and Europe and all the
yeah.
rest of it. But um, But yeah, that was a good one when it came on. But I think like the big champion ones that happened right before then was like PSG,
Liverpool.
Liverpool, Bayern, Real, and I don't think Barca came
Yeah. It
until
was
like the La Liga
after
license
Messi
came
won it because Messi was
because
there at that point, but they never got the license. But they did get Mbappe, and obviously Mbappe was like huge at PSG and everything at that point. So
yeah,
um,
so I
yeah,
guess the
that's
order of them.
interesting. No, definitely, and that was like that was kind of part of the reason why, like, 'cause obviously at that point, an intervening period, one of our platforms we were on wasn't really going that well, and I'd maybe put like a couple hundred quid a time or whatever in there. So say a few thousand on there, like built up over a year and a half, 2 years or whatever. So it wasn't life-changing money or whatever, but that was starting to go a bit ski with. And like I made like one withdrawal, which I just took it all out at that point and made like one withdrawal. And I thought I'm gonna kind of like transfer that from there to Sorare. So it was like it's only a couple hundred quid, but it's picking up guys like like I want an under 23 goalie buying Alban Lafont or whatever, and he was expensive at that point, or getting a Safanov or whatever, and just kind of starting to get a bit more serious with it, not like going bonkers saying like here's my credit card, like give me it back in a year, like, but just like saying, all right, I'm going to buy a few guys at 100 quid. I remember this is my first alien memory, and it's a Friday night as well, and I remember Sherky was on auction. I was like,
Oh,
I really want a Sherky. I was like, I'll set myself a limit of like 100 quid. And I had a few beers. I paid 160 quid for the rare. And
I did
then
something similar with a Zaniolo and a Power Hour.
Aye. And then like Fraser was in the DMs, he was like, you going again? And I was sitting there having a beer and I was like, fucking right, I'm going again. I'm getting this guy's not and it was like it's a proper auction battle, say away where you were like you're not setting a maximum. It was like you bid, he bids, you bid, he bids, that type thing, and just kind of kept going. So I was like, aye, I'm going for it. And remember getting them and it was like it's like just been like delighted to like get the card and everything. So but like all that stuff was all part of the absolute start of it. And then my whole theory was like try and get guys that are undervalued. So I was like, I'm not paying like £200 a card because cards were already going at that point. Like, the top cards were already going for 100, 200 super rares. We're going for a few hundred, but it's like I'm not going in at that level. I've not got the money to do that. So I'll buy my guys, I'll try and research them as a new league comes on, get a guy for a tenner or whatever I think would be good at SO5. And I always loved that. See when they started bringing like the J League or they started bringing other leagues or whatever, going and try to find like guys from other clubs. Remember when Mehdi Taremi signed for Porto? And he'd been banging him in for somebody else that got him for a tenner. And I thought he'll do really well. And then he just went absolutely ballistic. He just ended up worth like hundreds of quid. And it was like that was me like properly hooked. It was like I've paid a tenner for this guy, and this guy is selling for like 400 quid. And it's like
Taremi was a real like bubble player, wasn't he? He was one of those first guys that went from being like a guy for a tenner at that stage was like that was a real snip. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And then he became like one of the best strikers for like 6 months. Like he was untouchable, wasn't he?
Yeah. And the other thing that really fucked me off as well was I remember Pedro Goncalves come on and he signed with Sporting. So he was really like smashing it up at an art club and they launched these cards and it was like 3 or 4 days before paydays and he went for like 25 quid. But I literally didn't have 25 quid in my account. It's like, right, I'm getting paid a couple of days. I'm on beans and toast just now, right? So like it's like I'm not putting my credit card in so early. I'm just being sensible. And I never got him. And he played that weekend and he hit like an 80. He started going up and it's like I'll have a bad game and then never ever he just smashed it and like within like 3 weeks he was selling for like 250 quid. And I was like and then he just haunted me for ages because he was under 23 at that point as well, and he was just literally the out and out best under 23 player on the platform. And I could have got him for like 20 quid. And I just never like borrowed 20 quid from somebody to buy him. And it's just like and I always regretted it. But I'm like obviously with loads of different other guys you picked up that you done really well on, and the kind of having the youth strategy really worked because Mbappe was under 23s and he went it's a Gary V thing. He went mental, and then because he went mental, people started buying another under 23 players, and all those values all went up, and then all of a sudden Edmund Tapsoba was going from like being 40 quid a rare to being 250 quid a rare and all that sort of stuff, and it just all went a bit ballistic, which was mad. And you're right, the Dutch league really was a catalyst for it, wasn't it? Like he's getting all that like football manager talent, like just coming in for Holland
Totally.
and Ajax, like were unbelievable. Ajax were unbelievable,
But it's
man.
all the wee guys as well. Like I remember, like Milan van Dijk was it maybe Heerenveen, and then he made a move within Holland before going to Coventry, and there was tons of people. I still see people from. 'Cause I remember doing the videos, obviously, for when all these leagues come on. Last I had like a level of. I had access to Y Scout as well for all these leagues getting launched, and I did scouting videos on them all, and it was like kind of not surface level research, not a total deep ender either, but like a good 40-50% of the way to going looking for like underlying stat. Because the thing with stats and scouting for these players is like on Sorare, like a key pass could be one of five statistics. There's no
Hmm.
key passes on Sorare. There's final third balls, there's penalty area entries, there's big chance created, there's fucking, a dozen of them. So it's hard to get a total comparison on um the stats that are captured and how they totally translate across. But a lot of the guys, a criteria I normally have just in general for trying to investigate them for so rare if you have access to even Sofa Score or anything like that. But it's like if they consistently come into the top 20, top 10 even better, obviously, but if they can consistently come into the top 20 across a number of statistics, like they don't need to be in the top three or the top five. You see some of these statistics sometimes for like a wonder kid, and it's like, oh, he's the number one under 23 for ball recovery or something, which is fine. And people, that stuff grabs attention, obviously. But there's some guys that are in like six categories out of 20 that are in the top 15 or
Yeah,
something like that. And so anyway, a lot of those guys I would find through that kind of method would be in those videos. Eredivisie was a hotbed of it. Austria had a few good ones as well, to be honest. But that Eredivisie one, like what's his name? Mikey Trezor was in it. It's like nobody at Willem 2 or something like that.
yeah.
And it wasn't really officially called Trezor. It was called still his big stupid name on the card. Um, but he was like a mad budget option. I remember Ryan Flamingo was in it as well, very early on when he was at Vitesse in like 17 or something.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of them. But Eredivisie, I like the way you put it. It was a proper football manager league where it was like you could scout a guy, and the next minute he's moving to Ajax, and now he's the fucking best guy in the fucking league. Or they could move to PSV or finals or whatever. Never mind some of the bigger moves that have happened above that.
The next thing I remember after that as well was like, so obviously there was guys going for like six and seven and 800 quid. So you had like Coop Miners was like the
Yeah,
best player on the platform and under 23. So like Toon Coop Miners, you had Timber, Windal was doing really well. And then there
yeah,
was that point where there was 50,000 people in the Common League. So there was like all these people had all come in. Obviously, there was outside forces in the world like COVID and people were all playing this stuff. But there was all these people in the Common League. But Sorare couldn't get the cards out quickly enough. Like they were just chucking cards out and all these Eredivisie guys were all going for like three and four and 500 quid each. And you're just like, this is just wild. And then eventually we got limited from that, right? So like Sorare obviously thought, well, we get 50 or 60,000 people here who want to buy cards, and like there's literally not enough cards for them all to have teams because it's like the scarcity is 100 and we're going to run out of cards here. So you eventually devise the one out of 100. And then even with that, like I remember saying like, all right, I'm not going to play the one out of 1,000. I'm just going to stick to the rare. We'll just fire away with there. I'll try and make my way up to super rare. Super rares had went even more bonkers. Like there was guys going for 20 grand and everything. And you're like, okay. And then the cards came out and the prices weren't too bad. I just thought, well, I'll get involved. And it's like, all right, I'll buy like I can't afford a Cody Gakpo rare. He's like 3 grand. So I'll go and buy a Cody Gakpo limited for 100 quid. I'll go and buy a Joey Veerman for 100 quid because I can't afford a rare now because I've missed the boat. And then it was go and get them. And then everything started to take off again. And I thought it was been really clever. It's like, yes, Gakpo's up to 200. I'll be clever. And I sold them. Then 2 weeks later, he was selling for 600 or whatever. So just like basically, like people just started buying into limited as well. It was like people were putting their money into that too because they were like starved of being able to actually own any players because there weren't any rares they could actually afford. And then that all started sort of taking off as well. And obviously at that point, although it was a 1 out of 1,000 scarcity and they were selling a good number of cards, they were still quite scarce as well because you hadn't even hit the 100 limited out of the
Yeah,
1,000.
yeah, for a while.
So like the first couple of competitions or whatever were like, if you had good cards, you were going to win something worth like 50 or 60 quid. Even it doesn't matter what you done, like you were going to win something good or whatever. So it was all like sort of pretty mad. Um, but yeah, and then eventually the thing that sort of keeps us engaged in the platform, we sort of moved on, and then we get Celtic.
Yeah,
So
that was a big part of it as well. Bit of a reshuffle in terms of me. And I was kind of thinking this today with the All-Star thing and all that, man, but I've had to, like, I was saying this to Harry after we did the deadline show. I had to log into Dapper Labs for like I was just doing some other stuff. If you're tuned onto my channel, you'll see what's happening. It'll be out in a couple of days probably. But I had to tune into Dapper Labs, and anyway, I don't know what I tried to do or what it was or when, right? But in March 2022, I deposited some tether into Dapper Labs and forgot about it, or
right,
didn't buy something that I meant to, or whatever. So I ended up in Dapper Labs, and I was like, oh, I've got $280 just sitting there, jackpot. That'll do me. So I
there's
went and
no
I was saying to you after we were talking for the Celtics Are Here stream, I got a Balcom for 20 quid. Now, at the beginning of the season came out like I was trying to pay like 60 quid for that, 80 quid maybe,
yeah,
I can't remember. So getting that for 20, I know his L10, this season's been rotten so far, but anyway, it's just a keeper, isn't it? Really, that's the way I look at it. He'll come good and hopefully at some point to some level. And then McGrath for 38, and then ended up so like, I felt this year like my plan was to play both classic and in season, and I've maintained throughout like this is the game everyone's playing. Anyone that says that they're an in season or a classic, like for me, like everyone's playing both. There's
yeah,
kind of effort levels and like actual, where you are in your journey for how strong you are on both sides of it, but they very much like go hand in hand. You're not really doing one without the other for very long, if at all. Like
yeah,
even in an absolute sense of it. Even if you think like maybe you're still doing it, you've always got one or the other. But essentially, like I really wanted to have my classic stuff like spear charge that and really like get a lot of card wins quickly enough. And I just really for this section of the season that we're at, I've just not won enough to get in season. Like I was talking to Harry, it really drove home for me when Harry won that first place challenger in season super rare or whatever. He got a couple of grand. I was like, man, I've not had a win like that. And he's like, yeah, well, you've not got in season supers. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I've not. Why? Been playing 4 teams a weekend, like for all season. It's like I've had
yeah.
terrible luck. Like, see if you actually look at my midfield, they're all shagged. Like they're all fucked. You know what I mean?
Not in a good
So
way.
no, so it's just part of that, I mean, if people don't score goals, if they don't play 90 minutes, if they don't, fall into the new manager's favour, whatever,
Yeah,
then there's not much the prize pool is going to do to save you. You know what I mean? That's
I know.
you still need guys to go out and play well, sort of thing. So it's a funny one, but it's been kind of front and center of my attention, and I think I can't remember how I got into this kind of little rant, but I did think I would have won more in season cards by this kind of stage of the season. If you think about like I guess we were talking about strategy and card values and that sort of thing. But like in season cards, yeah, like that.
But you got a few of your Celtic cards away as well, didn't you? So you kind of made a bit of a choice to like 1 point to like sell some of your Celtic cards, or maybe even like just to defend you a bit as well. Like, you had like a Callum McGregor unique, and in the old system, that was a real gin card because that was like, okay, you can play the unique in Super Rare, then you've got another captain. So that was one of those cards that would help you win cards at that level as well. And obviously, when they went to the segregation and they eventually removed All Star, then you were just talking about like just playing that as a Super Rare. So it didn't make sense for you to keep that as a Super Rare because obviously the unique was worth much more than the Super Rare, but like yeah, it kind of took away a bit of your edge, if that makes sense. So like that's probably been a bit of a difficulty in Classic because then you're getting back to the guys that have just got all the guys that are scoring the high scores, even if it's just like contender, you're playing as Romulo or you're play, that type of stuff, or if you're in champ or whatever, you've got guys rolling out Bruno Fernandes and Saka and Cole Palmer and all that type of stuff. So it's quite difficult, obviously, in classic as well. But as you say, sometimes you just don't really have a fast start, and then you're not
Yeah.
turning over any in-season cards, so you've not really got that opportunity. You transition, and you're just still just playing classic until you get a result, and you can sell a card to raise the funds, or you can start building so that you've got, getting in towards your free super rares or your four rares or whatever. So.
Yeah. I'm annoyed at myself that I forgot where that whole train of thought came. So I feel like I've just taken us down a left turn there. And I'm just thinking, what was I linking that into? So I'm terribly sorry. Because I know that McBride doesn't going to edit this to clean it up.
And no,
So
I'm definitely not going to edit this. The thing is, guys, like you're watching my channel here.
as soon
You're
as you said that, I was like, yeah,
you're
it
not
doesn't.
watching Quinny 3001. You're watching the actual podcast version of this. And if either of us make an arse of it, in so rare fashion, because there's been a few things recently where we make an arse. If we make an arse of this, you will be watching it verbatim on the channel. But then, like, part of that as well is like for the 250th video, that's kind of what the channel's been about as well. Your channel's much more professional than mine's, but mine's I just come on and like call Sorare incompetent and fucking like just people still watch. So like, all that type of stuff. But we're not getting into those sort of debates. But I mean, think back to like when Celtic came on as well. The thing was at that point, Celtic were one of the leading SO5 teams in the platform, and obviously you're under All-Star where Celtic cards weren't just winning Celtic cards, you were winning champ cards and all that type of stuff. And like I remember at that point, like kind of saying to you, like I'd love to have a Celtic Super Rare stack, but like you'd like Carter Vickers going for 7 grand and everything, and Joe Hart was like
Yeah,
4 grand, and you're like, like these are like huge prices. Like you need to remortgage your house to buy a Celtic Super Rare stack type thing, and it was bonkers, eh? Like it was like a pipe dream, like even owning any of them at all. Like
completely. And that's what that unique really embodied for me. It was like the absolute stretch card, like
yeah,
the card really I should have no chance of getting. I got, it's like, how the fuck did I do that? And then it became a bit specifically on that, like making sure it had a team around it, like if Celtic plays, that team runs, and it's pretty much copy and paste. There was a few alterations, like Tati Defender Taylor, Maeda Kyogo, and can't remember who else, but it doesn't really matter at this point. But
yeah.
yeah, that's what they felt like for those cards, certainly. Because, and I suppose Celtic are now again, I kind of always have been really, but they've been on so rare, like a real dominant power stack in that sense. But um, the Dutch league overall, but it's a very more so rare, I think, than the Scottish league. If you know what I mean, like some of the cards we were mentioning with the Dutch league coming on, like Trezor and stuff, guys like this that have a fun couple of years in their career, and they go from doesn't need to be all the way to the top, the Champions League final or anything, but they go to the Premier League, they go to Italy, they go to Spain, they maybe go around the Dutch league a little bit, go away, come back. There's lots of good players that kind of float around in that sense, and um, yeah, so I think like Celtic are it's kind of better that Rangers are on the platform now. In a overall kind of like game dynamic kind of sense. Obviously, I don't kind of obviously I'm not going to have Ender cards. I have seen Celtic fans, but picking up Butlins and, and Taverniers and uh, uh, uh,
I
just
wouldn't bother with Butland. Tavernier, captain disappointment as we know him here. He scores well, right? So he is scoring well. What I would say about this season, just like is it like I think that Alistair Johnson, the way we're scoring in defence, Celtic have counteracted them better than last season. So like last season, if you looked at it, Tavernier was doing like 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s, and you thought there'd be nobody in the league that could actually match that apart from Matt O'Reilly, obviously, it was his midfielder. But like Johnson's done loads of hundreds recently, so like you could really kind of run a Johnson and almost think that you're going to compete with Tav. But and I made this point in one of the other podcasts as well. People forget when Celtic play away from home, Rangers play at home. So it's a double whammy, right? Because Celtic are playing against Motherwell this weekend. Rangers are at home at St Mirren. So you're not just competing with Rangers, you're competing with Rangers where you're away from home. They've actually got the better fixture as well because they've got the home game and they're going to dominate the game. So, a clever person would have a James Taverner, and I'm a clever person that doesn't like Rangers, so that doesn't qualify me to have a James Taverner. So that's it. Fucking, there's no way I'm having him in my gallery, honestly. Just no chance. Captain disappointment.
Yeah,
It's not
captain
happening.
disappointment is the perfect term for him because he probably will be a captain for everyone on Surya, you know. So
Aye.
people definitely associate him with that armband. But
I was
yeah,
referring to the Rangers captain more than anything else. But
and you know, whether they finish third or fourth, they're going to win a lot of matches, which is normally, you know, the recipe for success on Surrey. You get guys that are involved in decisives for winning the game or keeping the clean sheet out if they don't concede that much or whatever.
yeah,
And you know, traditionally they normally come in second, but this year it'll be like third or fourth, whatever it is. And you know, it'll be a hard race, but it'll be right tight all the way. It's not like they're going to be languishing and cut off, I don't think. But I
nah.
do think that could be fourth, could be third. Let's see how it shakes out with a
Right, Quinny,
split.
this is the point in the podcast where I need a pee, so we're going to pause it, right? Hang on.
Oh,
Hey, we're back on. I've been for a pee and I've topped up my beer. Quinny's still there. He's just still doing the same stuff. So, anyways, so we did have a chat. We were talking about what we were going to discuss next, and the next thing that came into my mind was the time where I won Messi. So, that was like one of the big highlights in the platform. Like, how did it come about? To go on All Star Rare Pro or something. Like, it wasn't even like with like all like a team of stars. It was like Joe Willis and Walker Zimmerman, Hanny Mukhtar and stuff like that. And I remember
the
everybody.
Nashville boys.
I know, I know, because like I remember like Mbappe was selling for like 15,000, and Messi had just come on and he was selling for like five figures, and Kimmich and all that sort of stuff. And it was back in the days where you didn't have a fixed time for rewards, so it was like right, this is the lock, and rewards could be 2 o'clock, they could be 7 o'clock. I remember being in work that day and just being like a total, complete and utter nervous wreck. Like
Yeah,
total nervous wreck. Just like,
waiting for that email to come in.
yeah. No, I wasn't. I was sitting refreshing the screen, sitting the all these going refresh, refresh, refresh. But I was mad.
Yeah.
I remember like so I wasn't doing any content around at that point, right? It was just like a way back in the day before I even started the YouTube channel, and then like yeah, it was the afternoon. I think I was in the office or whatever, and it's like, right, okay, that's it now. And I started opening it. I was so nervous. I could hardly even touch the computer. I was so nervous. Like I was like, that way it was just a mixture of like anxiety and who you're going to get and excitement and all that type of stuff. And I remember just like opening the card. They came up on the screen, and instead of looking at them and going, it was messy, I just pressed the next thing and just opened another card. That way, it just didn't compute. It was like one messy. And the next thing I done was like I came out and I phoned my wife. It's like I don't know what am I doing? She's like one messy and she's like, what are you doing phoning me for then? Like it's like I don't know. It's like it was like I was my heart was going and like it was unbelievable. Like just it was crazy. Because at that point he was worth like basically more than my wife was earning a year in her salary, albeit she was part-time. But it was bonkers. Like it was just completely nuts. Like those rare cards just going for like five figures, and it was crazy. So what about you, Quinny? Can you think back any sort of highlight cards you won? I remember it wasn't one worth like five figures at that point or whatever. I remember you won a Verts, like when you just come on the platform, and that stuck in my mind as well. Like
Yeah.
23s or something. So
That was one that was a bit sore, but because that was like a really big win, like a start tier. And Wirtz at the time was obviously like Wirtz, of course, but he was still like 17, not the Wirtz you see today that's
yeah.
got 3 seasons under his belt and a bad injuries overcame and all the rest of it. So he wasn't super effective. He's never been super effective all season long. You know, he's a very much a purple patch guy. You know, he gets into a little spell where he's the top of the world, and then you know, I'm not going to jinx him, but you know, you
Aye.
just need to look at his chart and you see how it tends to go.
Aye.
So I was buzzing when I got him, and I kind of felt that kind of thing about him when I did get him at the time as well. It was a wee bit of like, oh, if it was an Mbappe, if it was this guy or that guy, they're
Yeah.
going to contribute. Whereas Wirtz does contribute. He's got a really good winning record for me, but like it's not a total star return. And part of that's his injury, of course, but it's also a part of his.
He was a low mint at that point as well, so it was quite new to the platform, so he was quite hyped and like
Yep.
obviously value wise he was probably still quite valuable. Maybe not as good an SO5 player as maybe Mbappe was at that point or whatever. So
Totally.
Aye, and then you kept that. Like, obviously, that was one of the cards where you had them for years and years and years, and that was like your virtue. You got them right up to the top levels, and like obviously it turned out like pretty good and probably got you a lot of wins and everything as well. So
Yeah.
um, it was wild. Like, and then obviously. Yeah, I mean the platform just developed so much, and then there was a big thing where obviously Sorare were chasing like the EPL and everything as well, and then you already had like Haaland on the platform as well, so you need that thing with Haaland and Mbappe. It wasn't just like Mbappe,
Yeah.
so under 23s Haaland and Mbappe, and it was like, well, you can win either because they're both worth 15 grand and all that type of stuff. It was just wild. Anyway, I wanted to have a wee look at the my Sorare data and stuff just to like. I can see it. Sure. I'm pressing buttons here, so I'll probably fuck this up soon. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
All
I've got
right.
a problem somewhere. 2 seconds. Focused on the wrong screen. Back to earth where I bumped now because I'm started to buy like guys for Brentford and Brighton and everything, so it's all went a bit Pete-tong now. Right, sure. Sorted. So we're on Sorry data now. Look at my recent buys. Diamande, Mikey Moore, Adingra, Minty, and Seajuiced.
Mikey Moore, that's a good one.
It's a good. I watched him last night actually. Like Madison described him as Neymar for like 10, 15 minutes of the game, but he was pretty good to be honest. So, did you watch the Spurs game, or you caught any of them yet? Or
I missed it one for a second. I had to have to pick my days when I'm between studios now, as I am.
aye,
You pick my days on when I'm watching everything, and yeah,
I'm making a lot of
yeah,
content and everything as well, and you sort of doing Celtic gear stuff and everything last night. So
yeah,
I wanted to have a look at Sorare data because like. They're thinking about like stats and like 250 videos and everything, but like it's just bonkers how things have all sort of developed. So obviously roster valuation there, I mean that's like, pretty huge, but I think that's maybe a bit inaccurate at the moment as well because a lot of it's got like kind of some super rares that are a bit overvalued that haven't sold and everything in it. So I wouldn't really take that verbatim, but like stats wise, like total rewards won 1,349 and like in honesty, when I started I'm sorry, I was shit at winning, and I was really shit at SO5. Like, I don't think I won a card for like 7 or 8 months. So I must have been watching your videos and stuff, Quinny. You must have taught me. But I mean that's just a total bonker stat. Like, I don't know how that's really happened. And then, like, obviously, I've got like about 700 limited again. I did sell my limited at one point as well, so I had it down to under 200, and then ended up buying Celtic players and everything again. And
look where you
that's
are.
here we are. I went a bit
Aye.
bonkers, and and I suppose like cards are maybe worth a bit less these days, so it probably makes sense that you've maybe got more cards and more options, but they're worth maybe a wee bit less. So it's not really the end of the world, is it? I suppose. So, and we're talking about Messi as well. So
There he is, top reward winner.
yeah, for level 20. Free, so it was a reward card at that point, under contract to it's almost like a sort of football manager thing, it's like under contract.
Yeah,
Serial number 18 as well, so obviously that was like um
early.
back in the days where the serial numbers went in order rather than just like minting the number one 200 cards in.
I don't think I've ever appreciated how happy that Messi is.
Aye, he's
He's
buzzing.
very happy. He's very happy, isn't he? He's just got a
Yeah.
massive check, hasn't he? He's just been paid an absolute country's worth of money, hasn't he?
He definitely is, isn't he? Aye. Well, he's playing with Mbappe and Neymar, and like I must admit, like I think that spell in SO5 was just the most bonkers spell I've ever seen in my life. Remember when it was like every week somebody would be hitting 500 with a PSG stack? It was like
Yeah.
every week. It wasn't like all right, somebody's got 500 or whatever. It was like it was happening like all the time. It was just bonkers. You look at his scores and everything now. Obviously, his price is a wee bit um, sort of down compared to what it was, but that is what it is. But like, look a way back to even what's happened with all the different rewards and everything he's won. So Presnell Kimpembe, Marcos Jr., Turaniga, Mignolet. Mignolet was pretty valuable at that point. He was worth a bit
Yeah.
for a
1600.
grand. Julian Brand, worth a fortune. Pallavicino, Hubers, um, Batal and G Small were worth like 400, 500, and then Courtois. So I think that was in All-Star Rare Pro first. So Courtois at that point was probably worth about 4 or 5 grand. Uh,
Seven. It says there.
it says seven there, but I don't think that's right because I think like it was like right at the end of the season and it's kind of before the new cards were coming and stuff as well. But
Serial number 77. Yeah, so it'd have been later.
aye, so it was right at the end of 2021. Um, Yarborough, Willie Orban. It's getting a lot of these cards are still worth like four figures and stuff. You know, it's like Vanya Milinkovic Savic, like 1,200 quid. Like it was mad, absolutely bonkers. Like people probably don't appreciate that now. Obviously, like how high the prices and the cards and the platform actually got at one point. It was just like it was crazy. Um, we keep going. Can't remember if there was any. Alice, one man Allison as well. All Star Rare Pro again, fifth. It's an Allison for fifth, and that was what
That's not bad.
2022.
Yeah.
Um, that was one of the reasons why like All Star Rare Pro was one of my favorite like sort of competitions as well because it was like one of the elite competitions. Like you had to have probably at least one good super rare to enter, but you got like loads of star cards or tier ones or whatever given out, and they were all pretty sort of valuable and stuff as well. And still like the amount of awards he's won is just like crazy. So people that's one of the mistakes that people make as well, right? So they buy like a Messi or whatever, and then say, all right, I bought a Messi and I paid 100 quid for him, and now he's worth 40 quid. They forget to work out like how many game weeks that he's just like won him money, like by captaining them, and like it's bonkers. So I didn't want to go through all the sort of different stats and everything, but I can't believe like I've went like in 4 years and just won like 1,300 rewards. Like and you were definitely better than me at SO5, so you must have taught me, Quinny. I'll give you all the credit. This is your chance. Take the credit.
No, no. You know, no, mate. You fucking you go extra mile for a lot as well. And one thing as well, you've always had, and I think like this is one of the things I was thinking about with your 250th video, especially is like I know from watching the videos that you put out, and I know from other people that other people that watch them as well. Is like your strategy and your gallery and your channel has been really good for just watching and scouting because you've always got goalkeepers that nobody's ever heard of that you know are coming back into promise. You've got 45 of them. You've always got mad random captain guys that are like, oh yeah, he plays in the fifth best team in Russia and he smashed 6 100s in the last 15 games, or just crazy people. And it's like, like so you've really cast the net far and wide to really optimize yourself. So don't sell yourself short on that one, mate. You definitely
Aye,
took your own path in a lot of ways as well. But
yeah.
it kind of ties into, I suppose, what we've been kind of chatting about earlier with some of the prize pool stuff. But like getting even now starting to play Sorare, the sooner you can get a big one that you can compound into what you've built, like that Messi card equivalent to somebody, you get your first real power card over the line by winning it, by saving up to craft it. Or whatever, like it can make a mad difference. For me, we are talking about
Yeah.
that McGregor before, you with that Messi, and of course, like you've been on with supers and U's and all the rest of it as well, of course. But just seeing the actual roll of honor for that is incredible. I recorded my reward opening thing for tonight for the Wanazek, and I went through that page for the five guys that won me the Wanazek, and some of them have been in the club for like 2 minutes, like Schmeichel, and some of them I'm the first owner of for 3 seasons, like the Angelino or whatever. And I like that part of the game. I love that. You be able to see what somebody's done for you and what they've contributed to the club.
It's good to have got that back in the back of the cards now as well, and it's like you've won a
Yeah.
certain amount of cards and stuff. But I agree with you, like honestly, when I was saying earlier, like when I started the game, I didn't know who the sort of K League was or whatever, but you kind of got to a stage where you end up just developing knowledge of different leagues. Like one of the big leagues that I really like just now is MLS. And people maybe look at the MLS and think still it's a league where maybe guys are a bit older, it's a retirement league and all that type of stuff. But you look at Ryan Gauld, when Ryan Gauld came in and played for Scotland and he came on and you thought he's offering us something different. And you're like, how can people in Scotland not know that Ryan Gould's good? Because he's playing over there, you can watch him in the Apple Pass or whatever, and he's doing good stuff all the time, and it's such an underrated league. And it's good to kind of expand your knowledge because everybody here is all maybe sort of brainwashed into the English Premier League or even obviously watching Celtic and Rangers and stuff, but you don't always think about what's going on in Italy, what's going on in Belgium, what's going on in France, what's going on in Holland, what's going on in all these different leagues, or even obviously we've been into like branching into Asia and Japan and waking up my Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, fucking hell, I've got five DNPs. But all that stuff's all been part of the fun of the game, right? It's all been good.
Totally. Got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah.
Gold's a great hero for me, and yeah, love those SO5 gods, the guys that could just rain 100s. Doesn't really matter where the fixture is; they're always good. You come across one of them, and
Stuart
you again
Armstrong's
have
there as
had them
well
all.
now. So we've got a Scottish duo. So like next season we're going to be buying a Ryan Gold and a Stuart Armstrong stack.
If you've not got one already,
I've, hmm, not the right colour because I've got
no, fair
rare
enough.
gold and well it'll be so you can play it down maybe. So
Play anywhere you want.
yeah. I only really bought Stuart Armstrong because I liked the song and he used to play for Celtic. So it's like follow McBride for genius SO5 tips. But I mean, what you were saying there about like buying different players and everything, that was one of the things that really got me on Sorare as well. It was like you could find a guy who you found him before he's become the star, and you can buy him at a certain price, and but you'll be rewarded for that because he'll go up in value. Whereas, like, say you play FPL or whatever, and he's like, okay, found this guy Sugawara, 4.5 million. He gets like two assists or whatever. You get a third weekend, everybody's got him. Whereas in So Rare, if you get to the third or fourth weekend in the season, and everybody's got them. You'll have made like 100 quid or whatever on the value of the
Yeah,
player because you've got them first. So that always sort of appealed to me as well. It was like you said about predicting things or saying what
yeah,
guy's going to be good, or even just having that connection of like Matt O'Reilly just now, right? As much as it pains me, like I want to see what he's doing at Brighton. Like I
yeah,
was gutted when he left, but I want to see him doing well. And I've got an interest in watching Brighton because I think I want to follow and see what he's doing. So that's a kind of fun element because even though we've got his Celtic card, he's not finished in the fantasy game. He's going to be playing with Brighton and want to see how he does. So I love that element of it. I love like it's a bit of, wasn't really ideal when Abada left, but I love like looking to see has Abada scored this weekend or whatever in the MLS, and I've got him in teams as well, and he's still under 23, and I want to see
Do you want
how
some good news?
it's that.
Got some good news?
Yeah,
Jota started for rent tonight
aye. I don't know if
after
I play
signing a
him in
permanent
it.
deal. I played
Uh,
him in anti-stack for fun. Gave him the
Might,
captain's armband.
he might have qualified for the underdog actually, to be honest. Can't
No, I
remember.
scored last weekend off the bench. His L15's pretty high, I think.
Yeah, I guess he's not really played much. No, that's definitely right. And then we're kind of nearly up to speed to where we are just now, aren't we? I mean, well, not really up to speed. Have we missed any big milestones?
Well, on the general journey, I suppose, like the whole Premier League coming on, the whole Bundesliga, the whole La Liga, and thresholds coming and going. I don't know, tons of stuff. I don't know, it depends, it
Aye,
depends
I know, I
what
know,
we're
I know,
classifying on this, but
I know. That was I was what just kind of go with the flow, and so I think like the other thing that really kind of I remember as well is like getting to go to games. Like remember that point
yeah,
where like actually Sorare come in and you're like Sorare are sponsoring the SPF, not sponsoring SPFL, but like going to the game and Sorare were on the boards and like go and enjoy that. And like that was always a big experience as well, right?
aye, big time. I think that was some buzz. That was like that was living the good life. Like you'll know this anyone who watched this content at the time, but like that first season, like I can't remember if they told me numbers or not, but I always just imagined they had a set amount of them. But it felt like every set of tickets they gave us was VIP, like 5 star at
Yeah,
Celtic Park, which is like, you looked at the prices of the tickets. Obviously they're not the same as sponsors. It's just collateral for the club to sweeten a deal or whatever. It's no that kind of thing. But like RRP on these things is, is a fucking few quid, And yeah, that was great. And then even into like the other couple of seasons, we got tickets quite consistently. It's not really that way anymore. I think they've quite firmly went, right, we're giving all the tickets away. We're not giving any of them to uh Joe Blogs just for
I think actually with Celtic you just can't get in at the moment. Like I think
well,
it's
there's a bit of that as well. Yeah, I think
it's
there's
just difficult, isn't it? Like it's not like sorry I don't want to give them out. It's just like they can't get them either.
yeah,
Like
I
they
think I think
can,
the deal's changed over the years a few times over, and I think especially with Rangers now being on, it's maybe just a standard thing because I felt like with only being Celtic, maybe there was some sort of with Rangers not being there, there was an extra reason to have that stuff, maybe. And maybe
yeah,
now that Rangers is here, there isn't that extra reason. How that
yeah. I
think
would,
about it, I'm not
aye,
too sure. Inversely or conversely, perhaps, but I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of felt that way that now that it's Rangers on, it's like just a blanket bog standard thing now,
yeah.
rather than a special Celtic thing. Like it
Why
used to
don't we
be.
just ask them for tickets to St Johnson or something and just like we'll drive to Perth. But aye,
I I did ask them for like giveaway stuff. I can't remember what the thing was for, maybe the Euros. I think it was the Euros because my private league was called the Tartan Army League. And I said, can I pick your SPFL game, essentially, minus the Derby, the Glasgow Derby, obviously. And they said, no, they don't have SPFL tickets, only Celtic.
yeah, that's interesting. I think at one point it was more of a kind of SPFL league deal and you were getting a license and all that type of stuff. Maybe they just had like an enhanced deal with Celtic. You know, the enhanced deal with AC Milan, you can fly with AC Milan and we've always had a really good relationship with Liverpool. So
Yep,
obviously, like they've had the experiences on the pitch and everything at Liverpool as well. And I suppose, like, just sort of thinking back, like I think that's one of the reasons why Sorare's been just so much more advanced than other fantasy football stuff because it's not just about like you put on this team for the weekend and you win or you lose or whatever. It's been more of an sort of experience side of things. And
totally.
obviously having the choice at all the global clubs means that you can kind of connect with somebody and like I'm not saying I'm a Brighton fan or anything, but I did find myself last week looking going, well, I need to increase my Brighton collection. So what the fuck am I doing on this? It's like, so I
Well,
need Lewis Dunk.
going to St James's Park and then supporting the away team, McBride, that's something you maybe don't want to put out loud there.
That what well, I didn't really. I just like drank Madry and just tried to enjoy the game. But I like it was kind of weird one. It was I actually did I put the thing up. I was like, I'm going to put 25 quid in Newcastle here because I can't be sitting like celebrating in the like Newcastle end like because Brighton have scored. But actually like that's one of the sort of things as well. Maybe this has nothing to do with sort of Celtic thing. My brother was down with me as well, and because Celtic Aberdeen was on at the same time, we spent like a good chunk of the first half trying to get the Wi-Fi password because we wanted to know what the score was for Celtic and Aberdeen. So like. We're all the way down there having a few pints. We're going to watch Newcastle. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting game in the world, but at that point, our sole thought was, what's the Celtic score? So that just shows you like what passion about a football club or a fan or whatever means, right? Because like that's all we were thinking about. We weren't thinking who's going to score here in this stadium or like what's happening at Parkhead. So it's wild, isn't it? And
That's it. That's the real show, isn't it?
aye, but I mean that I was thinking that earlier as well, thinking that's my kind of not main kind of what I suppose it is, but it's one of the things that really keeps me honed in Sorare as well because even if I said okay, I'm going to chill a bit, going to like sell a few cards, I'm going to just play, I'm not going to spend more, I'm not going to end season. As soon as it comes next season, Celtic come out again. I'm gonna end up buying them again, right, aren't I? Like so, because
Yeah.
that's the connection. But it's like I want Engels, I want Valley, I want guys who have signed and stuff like that, and that's like even you like we were talking about getting into the end season and things like that, and now you pick up a few pieces and you want to play your in-season stuff, and we're coming up what into November, and then there'll be a lot of leagues will finish, and then it'll be all about SPFL, English Premier League, and Turkey. You know, there'll be a spell over Christmas, not eating turkey like the Turkish League, and it'll be all about that stuff, won't it? And it'll be like
Yeah.
a kind of festival of football over Christmas. So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
And that makes me think like so I was having a chat with somebody about this the other day in terms of having like one club, multi-season, multi-entry, kind of heavy stacking, like the way we kind of do, certainly. And I was kind of speaking about the Johnson I got in because that's mean I got two Johnsons. And I think if you are doing that, like you need minimum two copies of everyone. Obviously, you've got full collections of everything, so you don't really need to worry maybe about some of that. But I think if you're going for free lineups of the one club and you really want to hammer it in, like you need minimum two of like the guys you want to back because how many? But really, because team one and two should be they should be so closely matched. There should only be like a little bit of difference between the first team you pick and the second team.
Yeah,
And you are maybe talking about, in the Celtic case, Maeda or Kun, or I think Kun's maybe Dyson or Kyogo, or Dyson and Ida. You know, these kind of guys that are maybe like 60 to 70 guys, McGregor or Hatate, you know, these kind of moves. Whereas, like, you know, Vickers, take your poison between the defense, really. All of them are very, very high scoring. But like, whoever you want to back, whoever you want to nail, you really want to have them in two teams, not one anymore.
yeah,
And when you're going, like, Celtic are on their fourth season, so it's pretty easy to have two copies of everyone that's meaningful in a collection with bonus and all the rest of it. Not totally there yet, obviously, just with some transfers that have happened recently, but
yeah,
I'm at that point where next season, like, yeah, I will want to buy them, I will want to bring them in again, of course, but I think the main thing I've definitely picked up from this is like in-season keepers is really spying on them and really watching for a guy you can get under price perhaps or a backup or and not really being too worried about the premium top end like the Schmeichel. I had to wait for that bit on that because it's mad expensive, but normally that shouldn't be the case. You hope Celtic don't have goalkeepers retiring every season, only
mm,
every 2 seasons, the way it's going. But so yeah, I think goalkeepers is the main thing I'm really thinking about. And when I cast my mind like really forward strategy wise, like what I might need to think about.
yeah. I think you're right. Like, what I'm thinking about just now is like Christmas and beyond. Whereas think a lot what a lot of people are thinking about just now is this weekend, and that's where
Yeah.
you can get your edge. So I'm thinking I'm buying Brighton guys and Brentford guys and branching out a wee bit because I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be EPL over Christmas, it's going to be focus on that, and also guys like Jack Walton, right? Jack Walton, Dundee United goalkeeper, 30 quid.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that I'm looking forward in South Korea finishes, Japan finishes, I'm losing a few goalkeepers and I want some in-season guys. And he'll be well worth 30 quid because, Kasper Schmeichel's 300. So all right, it might be more optimal to buy a Kasper Schmeichel, but he's 10 times the price. And there'll be some weekends where, maybe Walton will keep a clean sheet or get a bit of A and he'll hit a similar score or maybe even higher. So yeah, I mean I think you can have a lot of fun with the game and stuff as well. And you were saying with collections, it's kind of the specials at the start of the season. It was really good to have an SPFL special. Like, as a first site I've ever been on, you're thinking for this weekend, it's actually about the Scottish League. Um, and everybody with like you people from France, people from all around, people from Croatia messaging going, who do you fancy for this weekend? And they were all getting involved in the Scottish League. And that must be good for the Scottish League and Celtic and everything as well. Obviously that's not all what Sorare's about, but it's part of it, right? It's about sort of marketing those teams and people getting involved and want to own or follow the cards and stuff as well. So that's a big connection, right? Like that's one of the things that we're always talking about every week. We're doing the Celtics are here, we're doing the Celtic stuff and it's all about that. And obviously, there's loads of other stuff. I play under 23s. Um, well, I pay pretty much everything at the moment, but like Messi, like going to MLS and everything as well. Just having to keep that card, being able to play Challenger, it's such a cool part of the game as well. So I'm thinking, I'll get Griezmann. I was thinking, I'll be goes to MLS. They're really good. They play Griezmann, play with Messi, so it's like so many different facets to the game that are just a lot of fun, really. So
Yeah, I love that part of it as well. And that's kind of why the collection part of it I really, really enjoy extra. And like Bernabeu now is fantastic, over in
yeah,
that region where he's became an absolute boss out of nowhere. And I've only got one Bernabeu, but if you he was never a first team player, so like those guys you need a copy of, I think, when you're kind of getting going. But when you get guys that transfer out and then they become like viable guys in their own right, that that's where I think this game, like you say, it goes to that next level where you can take them where it
yeah,
doesn't matter where they go. But fair enough, the Messi few is special, of course, because it's Messi, it's a reward, all the obvious stuff there, of course. But having guys like, and you've got these Celtic guys as well, but like, like the Bernabes, Giakoumakis, there's one or let's see how O'Reilly does, of course. Where you've got there's so rare sentiment and there's IRL sentiment, and even with guys you don't support like Wanizeks and Cecinias and whatever, you definitely get IRL sentiment for some of these guys because you see, oh, what a free kick
yeah.
the guy banged in and it put me into fourth, or oh, the guy won the penalty, did this, and you appreciate the good stuff they do and you get that for them as well. It doesn't just need to be the team you support, but whoever's getting you into the podium is your favorite player that week.
Yeah. I just realised as well you've got a Messi behind you in the screen there too. Like and like that's enough for Boric obviously but like aye.
The Polish goalie, the holy goalie,
So we'll get the
Nakamura.
goat. We've got the goat and Messi.
That's it.
Yeah, aye. No, definitely. And like I like the kind of overall sort of seasonality of it as well. The fact that like you get to summer and all of a sudden you want to play, well, not all of a sudden, but you're playing the MLS because that's the only show in town type thing, and it's like, all right, everybody else is like missing the football and stuff, and you're like, I want to watch an MLS game. I want to like. Do you ever think before like playing so rare that on a Saturday night you'd be sitting down going, right, I'm going to watch Nashville. I'm going to watch Inter Miami. I'm going to watch Seattle Sounders or whatever. You'd never ever ever have imagined that. Or watching. Remember one Saturday morning, it's like, yes, the K League. I've got a free screen. I was sitting watching. I've fucking no idea who was playing, no idea, but I was sitting watching, going, and then somebody would score, and I was looking at my phone and going, I still don't know who's got the goal and the assist, and like it's mind blowing stuff in it. It's just like just bringing like a different football experience.
Yeah, I love it. I've not had too many Korean Saturday mornings. I did have a few like right early on, but it's been a while. Like, I dropped out the K League quite quickly. I don't mind the K League; it's good and all that. I prefer the J League, but it's just a wee bit easier to
Aye,
watch. Like actual the football, the J League's just a wee bit more, you know, feisty. Maybe the word for it. There's just a bit more nip and tuck about it, and some of the talent, back then as well. The good ones that we were following certainly are in Europe now, so they were like it turns out a pretty good level, you were
Celtic kind
watching.
of few. I just so we got the kind of
Yeah.
Celtic connection, Hatate, Hurashi.
But
Um,
seriously, man, see when you look at that Japan team, like they are like a mini Belgium like 10 years ago, aren't they? In some ways. They've maybe not got the Hazards and the Lukakus and the Companies and the Courtois or whatever, but like their squad is like fucking good, isn't it, man? Like,
yeah. They went through a spell in qualifying there where they won like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, and like they're just bashing up everybody. But what really impressed me with Japan is that like you look at them and you go, all right, and there'll be a lineup, and you think, I've got Kubo, and Kubo will be in the bench. And then you look at the team and you think, Minamino's in the bench, Eo Tanaka's in the bench, and you're like, these are all like really high class players, and they've left them out. And then you look at the score and it's like 5-0. You're going like that's like actually, and I know that obviously they're playing in that region, but sometimes it'll maybe take a team like that and they'll go and they'll get to a World Cup semi or a quarter final or whatever. Now we'll go, oh, hang on a minute, Ange Postecoglou was right to go and try and think Mitoma, but obviously there's lots of good players there and they're bringing for a big talent pool and everything as well. And there's an obvious connection there as well, right? Because everybody loves Dyson, everybody loves Furu, Hatati, and everything like. Didn't really cost a lot in the grand scheme of things football wise, but they've been absolutely brilliant for Celtic.
nah, they've been brilliant for sure. And yeah, I think a lot of the Sorare cards as well that people picked up in those seasons have had some interesting journeys. You know, some of them
Yeah.
are in Belgium, they're in England. Don't know if any are in Spain anymore, but certainly France has a few. And yeah, it kind of ties into that part you're talking about as well. People moving in their career, continent, country, you know, whether it be from outside Europe in, or some guys that are really good at the back end, leaving Europe to go have some fun somewhere else. I seen a report the other day. I've seen this kind of echoed a few times, but I've seen it again within the last couple of days that De Bruyne would prefer MLS over Saudi, and it's San Diego that's like heavily lined up. So just a name and a place to throw out there in this kind of vein that we're on.
Well, I've got his rare and like, oh, it's a classic rare. It's not in season, but no, but we're not getting into that. But yeah, I mean, like he's easily got a few seasons out there, right? And he's like, if you look at what Ryan Gold's doing and Evander and stuff, like De Bruyne would just be like all of that on steroids type thing. Obviously, you would need to have some good players beside him as well, but like because you need decisives as well. But even look at what Messi's doing, and everybody, he will say it was just the MLS or whatever, but he's still delivering for Argentina, and he's happy and he's achieving things and stuff, which is really good as well, and that's really cool. Like just like following that, and while I buy some Messi cards next season, even though I know we might only have a year left, I'll still buy them. Like Suarez could retire just now. I bought Suarez last week because I was like, well, he's 30 quid. He's talking about playing on. I've got the playoffs to go. I'm still going to buy him. If it doesn't play on, that's my fault. I'll take that in the chin. We'll go with it type thing. So Inter Miami's becoming like this big franchise thing where you think, well, see when Messi goes, there's even talk of Neymar going to Inter Miami in January, right? You're like, fucking hell, man. Like, honestly, it's going to end up like the Harlem Globetrotters or something in the MLS. Like, you get the World Cup there in 2026.
Six. Yeah.
So it's all going to be building up. And that's one of my kind of big hopes of it. So rare. I know, like, obviously, we were talking about the EPL and, you know, some of the stuff's kind of went a wee bit more downwards and stuff like that. But like it's kind of all about like consolidating it, making it sustainable, making it fun, but then try to focus on growth again. And MLS, Messi, really good relationship with MLS, having all these leagues, having a lot of big clubs like Celtic, and people will not regard Celtic as a big club, but seeing worldwide football, Celtic have so many fans in worldwide football. Like one thing I'll say to people as the viewers is that it doesn't matter where I'll go in the world, right? I'll go to Spain for a golfing trip. I'll go to Portugal. I'll go to Tenerife. I'll go to America, and there's always some cunt in a Celtics trip. Everywhere, there's always somebody in a Celtics trip. You'll never go anywhere. It's mad. Like so,
We are
like it's just
massive.
a
We are everywhere.
Aye, it's a huge fault. Like people probably don't appreciate that. Like even Alex Valley came in, he was like, "Ah, I played with Barcelona." First interview, he was like, "I didn't realize Celtic were so big." That was the one of the things he said. It's like I didn't realize they were so big. Um, so there we go, and we get a clean sheet in the Champions League, first time in 7 years.
Hey. Feels like an eternity more than it does 7 years, to be honest with you. But hey,
Yeah. Anyway, we've been on for a good time, and I appreciate you coming on, Quinny. So we probably should actually start to get this wrapped up and stuff. But anyway, what's your thoughts going forward? What you thinking about Celtic, Sorare, life or whatever?
Surya, Celtic, life, and whatever. That's the title of my autobiography.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, we're going to the Celtic Dundee game on Wednesday, aren't we? So we'll go along there and we'll watch and we'll be hoping for an
Yes,
Echo 5 win.
big time. Because after this weekend, we may have a better idea, or maybe have less of an idea of the team. Who knows, depending on how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we had a few different theories on how the rotation might happen. Let's see, but yeah, should be great. Normally, when we go to games, we do have one of us on a podium somewhere. Back when it was Unique O'Reilly versus Unique McGregor, and one of us would always finish top 1 second or third or something. So normally in your favour, of course. But yeah, hopefully a wee bit more of that next midweek.
Right, good stuff. Right, I need a pee
Pleasure, mate.
again, so we're going to end it. And also,
Congrats on 250 videos. Well done, mate.
I know 250 videos. Thanks everybody for watching. If you got to the end of this, then you're a psychopath. It's a 1 hour and 20 minutes or something, and we'll end. And I can't even chat. I know, I can't even chat to you after this because as soon as I hit this in Zoom, then it's going to download and everything as well. Quinny, but thanks very much for coming on. And honestly, like that's been one of the brilliant bits about So Rare. Just like we talk about community, going to the games, like just like meeting friends and stuff like that. So rare, it's brilliant. So honestly, so thanks very much. We'll wait, drink
Cheers,
more
mate.
beer, and I'll see you on Wednesday night. Cheers, man.
Win hoops. Thanks,
On
mate.
the hoops.